Hello me lovers, I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're having a good day, good week, morning, weekend day, whenever you're watching this. I just hope you're so well. And yes, I haven't changed from the last video. That's because there's something called batch recording, and whilst I have the time, I feel like I should do it. And again, I am feeling a little bit rough, so please ignore my outfit, my voice. It may be a little bit nicer because maybe it's a little bit deeper. We are back again with a video for the light triage +1 videos. So the last video you just watched was moderate light plant suggestions, and my God, your mind is blown because there was so many suggestions for you there. You found the sweet spot. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. And as well, before we dive into this video, which is, you guessed it, low light plant suggestions, please go and watch the first video of explaining how light works. Bright, direct, moderate and low light, and I explain it all to you. And I think it's very, very important that you understand how that works, because sometimes people don't understand how that works, especially when I have customers come into my plant shop. I go, what's the light like? And they're like, you're like, okay, well, and anyway, as I said, today's video is about low light plant suggestions. Now, first things first, we've got to get out of the way. Low light to no light, especially no light. You are not going to be able to have plants if you have no natural light whatsoever, okay? Unfortunately, plants need light to thrive. That might be a lot of common sense for a lot of you out there, but to some people, they're not sure about this, so I'm just putting it out there. If you have no natural light whatsoever, you cannot have plants. I'm really sorry, because it just won't work. However, there is a fix for that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. So when we say low light, if you remember, low light is where it's going to be a typical north-facing window, and there's going to be some plants that can tolerate this, and that is the key word here, is tolerating low light. It's not thriving. These plants will not thrive, but they can tolerate it. It just means their growth might slow down. They might not do as well as you want, but if you really desperately want a plant, these are going to be the plants for you. Now, I don't have many low light plants, so I'm just going to do like the highlight one, throw up images and whatever here, or this side of me. Who knows? Maybe it's usually typically this side, whatever I fancy today. I don't think I have top 10 suggestions for you. I'm going to try my best to give you as many as possible, but as you can tell, not a lot of plants are going to be okay here. They're going to want to be in between this low light and moderate light section, ideally with these lower light plants, and even more so in the moderate light section. However, these guys are going to tolerate this low light. So the first one I'm going to throw out there is the Zamaculus, or the ZZ plant. Now, my favorite one's the Raven, which is the black version of this typical plant. You have a few different varieties. You have a Zenzi variety, which is where the leaves are a lot more bunched up and typically a lot shorter, and then you have your classic green one as well. But the ZZ Raven is my favorite out of these. Now, Zamaculus grow on forest floors, so they do get little filtered light, so they can tolerate it. They are very, very slow growers, so I find that I cannot water mine for 3 months and it still will be okay. Probably not the best advice to not water it that often, but these guys can go for a long time without being watered. So that's one suggestion. As my number 2 suggestion of a plant is the Aspidistra, or cast iron plant. I'm sure this plant has a lot of different nicknames, but this is a very classic houseplant. Very 80s, maybe even 70s houseplant that you will see. Again, this is the same as a Zamaculus. They are very, very slow growing, so they do not need a lot of water. They are another one that can tolerate this lower light. Moving on to number 3, another plant that is a really hardy plant that can kind of tolerate a very wide range of this light spectrum. But another one I suggest is the pothos, the devil's ivy. Another very classic houseplant. I think you either love it or hate it. A lot of people have this, but it is one that can tolerate a lower light area just because it's such a hardy plant. You can't really go wrong with these guys. They will require more watering than the first 2 that I mentioned. Watering it when it's dried out, so making sure it dries out first before you water it. If you water it too much or if it sits in water for too long, it will rot. So that is a kind of another suggestion there. I don't think you can really go wrong with these guys just because they can tolerate a wide range spectrum of stuff. Direct light, probably not, they will burn, but they can tolerate a lower light. They will slow down. Remember, they will not perform as well as you would hope, but they can tolerate it. And number 4 suggestion, which might kind of shock you a little bit, and that is something I've suggested for bright light, and that is the snake plant. I know I've already suggested this one for the other end, and you'll probably be going, what? But yeah, this plant can tolerate lower light. Believe it or not, they can do it. It's a really strange one. Again, it will not thrive. I cannot stress this enough. It will not thrive, but it can tolerate lower light. So if you have that space and you want something looking like that, snake plant, you can have one. And now I gotta give a warning. Big warning, red lights everywhere, because this plant is a diva, and I know some people have said they find them really easy, which I really don't know how you find these easy. But another plant that can tolerate lower light is calatheas or calatheas, however you want to say it. Tomato, tomato, I don't know. I say calatheas. They can tolerate lower light, which is really interesting to me. Again, they probably will not perform really well, and being a diva that they are, I feel like this is a really bad suggestion for lower light, but you never know, you could make it work. But it's just a suggestion. It's just a suggestion out there for lower light plants because there's not many suggestions for this light area. I'll put it out there anyway. I'm putting it out there. We could put a pin in it. You can sit and mold that over a little bit and have a think about that one, but I'm just gonna put that out there. As a number 6 suggestion, another staple houseplant in a lot of people's collections or grandparents' collections is the peace lily. Now these guys can tolerate lower light conditions. Again, it's not gonna thrive. I really can't stress that enough. So if you want something a bit more bushier, a little bit easier to look after, green, a peace lily is going to do it. Now, I'm pretty sure when it comes to peace lilies, if they're in shadier areas, their flowers are going to be green. It's when it is in more light, the flowers are going to be white, like that classic and how you bought it kind of thing. If they're in shadier areas, flowers are going to be green. So if you want white flowers, they have to go to be in more light than you think. But if you want it for a shady area, then you're going to have to put up with green flowers, I'm afraid. That's kind of it for me. I don't necessarily feel or believe there's many more that I can give to you. Again, there are going to be plants that can tolerate this light. They are not going to thrive. Now hear me out. If you have these kind of areas and going back to no natural light whatsoever, if you really, really want houseplants, then I would strongly suggest investing in grow lights. I have got Grow Gang's pinata lights here, which are full spectrum grow light. I am not sponsored by them. It's just one that I trust. And I have a lot of customers come into the plant shop and they come in and they're so disappointed because they have not much natural light whatsoever. They live in a flat, and there are a lot of people out there that live in flats now that won't have a lot of natural light, and they're really excited to have plants. So please, it is a little bit more spenny, but if you really want houseplants, I can't suggest you enough to bite the bullet and invest in some grow lights, because once you've got grow lights, forget about low light, no light area suggestions. You can then just have so many more plants in your house, and it's going to make you more happier. So that is kind of like my solution for these kind of areas. So yeah, something to think about there. It is a solution to the problem, so I don't want you to go away thinking that you can't have any plants whatsoever. That's kind of the end of this triage of videos of light and houseplant suggestions for those light areas. It is a topic I have all the time in the plant shop throughout my time working in planty places, and it's what I do every single day, every single hour, every single minute, every time I work in these places. This is just all I do every single time. So I really wanted to dive deep into suggestions and helping people understand light and lighting and breaking it down into these small videos. I'm going to put them all in like a playlist together, so if you haven't watched the other ones, you're not going to go rummaging through everything. So hopefully that I can do this, if I remember, and make a little playlist so you can watch them all together. And I hope this really helps you. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. I love this and I love you guys. So thank you so much for being here and watching. Yeah, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye, me lovers. Bye. Bye.